Hello, this is Dr. RoboCoach from FantasyFootballDraft.com with a review of ESPN's yearly Sleepers and Busts, Studs and Duds article. They update this every year. It is the number one read, or at least top of the Google results every single year. So if nothing else, you should be acquainted with this because everybody in your league is probably going to read it. So you should know what they're thinking. The good news for you is if they read this, then they are probably likely to lose in your league. And here is why. So if you scroll down here, they do the normal stuff. A sleeper is somebody who underperforms their ADP. A bust is somebody who underperforms their ADP. Sleeper, I'm sorry, overperforms the ADP. They also define this thing called breakouts for rookies. And if you cruise down here, they'll start out with the quarterback sleepers. And right there, that's a hint that this article is not for you because quarterbacks don't go usually in the first two rounds. And if they do, it's somebody reaching. So that shouldn't be at the top. Running backs. Okay. Now we're talking. These are the important players. These are the ones that go in the first couple of rounds. And if you screw up these picks, then I guarantee you your season is over, unless you're in some sort of two quarterback league, but that's a very small percentage of you. And again, you'd want to customize sleepers and busts if you are in a two quarterback league, because then that's all these things that are built for the average fantasy football player aren't very much use to you. So let's see. The busts are the important thing. The sleepers that's interesting, but sleepers go in the later rounds. The busts go in the first round and the second round. So always in these sleepers and bust articles, the first thing you want to go to is the running back bust, because that's everybody's first pick for the most part. And so let's take a quick look here. Who we got? We have got their usual cast of celebrities. Not to say that they're untalented. Stefania is a knowledgeable person, and as are all these people. But I'm seeing some trends here. James Conner, James Conner, James Conner, James Conner, and then also Cordero Patterson. Those are busts. Anybody who's listening to me knows that those aren't busts. And in fact, ESPN should know that because they defined it as somebody who's not going to perform up to their ADP. Well, yeah, here's the ADP from the very own site, and I don't see James Conner anywhere in the top 10. I want to know that if this is going to be in the first round, and I have to know a bust, I'm going to remember one thing from this article. I'm in a standard league, and I know a running back bust that's going to go in the first round. Then that's useful information. But they haven't given me that information. I see a bunch of running backs here. I don't see Cordero Patterson or James Conner in this list. If I'm reading this article and it's the number one article on the internet, I need some information that's useful, and I need it right here in this section, and I've got nothing. So I need to know, I guarantee you at the end of the year, one of these 10 guys is going to be a huge bust. But as you probably know, what will cause these guys to be a bust will be the propensity for injury. And that's not, I mean, Stefania could cover that. She's an injury expert, but she's, talking about James Conner, who's an irrelevant, that he's a second round pick, maybe even, I'd say third round pick. If you're bust, you got to talk about the first two rounds if you're going to talk about anybody at all. This is useless information. So, I could go back here and dig into this article a little more and talk about quarterbacks and wide receivers, but it's really not worthwhile because I've already found, that this is the litmus test right here, and it doesn't pass the litmus test. They've given me bad information in the most important section of the article. So rather than dig in and waste more time on this, let's just define for you how you get good information. So if you want to take the one good thing that you did see here was, hey, the ADP, that's actually good information. Now you just have to sort of pair it with who's going to be a bust from that group, avoid them in the first round, and then you'll be all set. So the way to do that is, well, for one, you probably want a customized cheat sheet, because if your league has wide receivers, then there's a chance, if you're doing like 3 wide receivers, that wide receiver busts matter too. Typically it's running backs, but if you've got, 2 quarterbacks, like I said earlier, that can also matter. You need a customized cheat sheet because your league is going to have different rules that'll make things more or less important by position. So that's what you get if you come to FantasyFootballDraft.com. RoboCoach will give you a customized cheat sheet, and here you'll get your customized sleepers and duds. So where is the sleepers and duds in here? You take a look. There's a lot of information here. But if you just take a look at the first row, you can see. So we're talking about Jonathan Taylor here. His ADP is right there. His RDP, the RoboDP, is number 1. So the delta is 0, so he's neither a sleeper nor a dud. So that's what you're focused in on here. The delta column is your sleepers and duds and studs column. That's where you go to find out. So you can take a quick glance and you can say, okay, look, I've got Nick Chubb and Elijah Mitchell, who are sleepers and are worthy of a first round pick, but I don't have to get them in the first round. I can wait until pick WUP 25. So I get Nick Chubb at the end of the second round probably, and be safe with the sleeper. Now the duds, the guys you want to avoid, where are they? Well, you can find them too. So Kamara is a little bit of a dud, not too much. McCaffrey is a little bit of a dud. And that information matters. When you're in the first round, you don't want a guy who's a little bit of a dud when there's guys, that you can get later in the first round that are sleepers. So, Derrick Henry, hey, he's 2 better than where his ADP is. And so if I have the second draft pick or the first draft pick, well, I can trade down a little bit, can't I? In fact, this whole group is a tier 1 group. In other words, you see the tier number here? In other words, all these running backs are the same. And that's a mathematical concept of clustering. And so they're basically saying that the robo point values here cluster around the number 357. And so all these backs can pretty much be considered as good as one another. And so if I can take Nick Chubb and Elijah Mitchell with my second and third pick, then if I have the first pick, I can trade that all the way down to the 12th pick if I'm in a 12-team league. And that reduces my chances of getting a first round dud. And as I discussed before, the thing that in the first round, the thing that determines dudness really is the propensity for injury. RoboCoach does take into account the propensity for injury, and these values, the robo values, are discounted if a player has likely injury written all over them. So if you scroll down the list, you can see, if you take a look at the ADP column, the brown numbers here, you can take a look for players who are in the first round and say, okay, there's one. Austin Eckler for my league. This is a fairly standard league. I've got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers in this league. It's PPR. Austin Eckler is going to be a huge dud. Now there's good information for you, or for me, I should say. It may be different for you. So I can say right off the bat, I'm being told something that's useful for me here, because Eckler was going to go in the first round, and he's a huge dud. And if I avoid him, then that saved me a lot of trouble. So yeah, so James Conner, he's going in the third round. There he is down there. And yeah, he's a little bit of a dud. But in the third round, it doesn't really matter. What you have to avoid is that first round mistake. So that's how you use RoboCoach's studs and duds column. It's the Delta column here, and that's really what you want. You don't want to read a lot of fluff from journalists who just have to fill out pages. You want a customized studs and duds. You want to know how big of a stud or a dud are we talking? As a little guy, a big stud, little stud, and not just one player like they're giving you in ESPN. I want to know every single player. How much of a stud or a dud are they going to be? Because every player will not achieve their potential. They'll achieve somewhere above it or somewhere below it, most likely. I want that information. And I also want it updated. I don't want a static article like the one you're reading at ESPN that they make in August. And, that's not going to help me if that thing's not updated every single day, because something happens in the NFL every single day. Somebody gets benched, somebody, a rookie starts looking better, et cetera, et cetera. Somebody gets injured. There's a butterfly effect, and it ripples out. Has to be updated every single day. So use that Delta column and RoboCoach will make you very happy. You'll find sleepers. You'll avoid duds. And not only that, you'll do it in a way that is custom tailored for your league. This has been Dr. RoboCoach. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe.